From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aylia Batool. Our top story for today. President Joe Biden said on Thursday that Washington helped Israel track down Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar, who was assassinated yesterday. In a statement, Biden said that after Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th last year, he directed special operation personnel and U.S. intelligence to work with Israel to help locate and track Sinwar and other Hamas leaders hiding in Gaza. The statement came after the Israeli army spokesperson Avichai Adrai claimed Sinwar was killed in a military operation in Gaza. Biden said, "This is a good day for Israel, for the United States, and for the world." Vice President Kamala Harris said Israel has a right to defend itself, and the threat Hamas poses to Israel must be eliminated. In August, Sinwar became Hamas's political chief, succeeding Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated in Iran's capital, Tehran. Online news outlet Mint Press reports that numerous U.S. media figures are also former Israeli spies. White House correspondent Associate Award winner Barak Ravid, CNN producer Shacher Paled, and New York Times producer Annette Schwartz are all alumni of Israel's Unit 8200, a covert ops, spying, and cyber warfare unit. They now have prominent media positions, Mint Press reported on Thursday. Unit 8200 has also been widely identified as the group behind last month's pager attack in Lebanon that injured thousands of civilians. Mint Press writer Alan McLeod said he was not accusing them of being current spies, but did question their suitability for journalism. He asked on X, "While I'm not saying these individuals are spies, are people with these past truly appropriate candidates to write America's news about Israel and Palestine? What if it were ex-Hamas or Hezbollah intelligence operatives, now running things at CNN or elsewhere?" Former Unit 8200 agents also created the notorious Pegasus software used to surveil journalists, activists, and heads of states around the world. Unit 8200 is also reportedly behind Lavender, the AI software that automatically generates kill lists of tens of thousands of Palestinians and aids in the deadly bombing campaign in the enclave. The Maryland office of the Council of American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, has called on the FBI to launch a hate crime investigation into an apparently bias-motivated incident targeting a small business in Baltimore. Earlier this month, 2 packages containing fake pagers and a sweatshirt emblazoned with the logo of the Israeli military were mailed to a Palestinian-American-owned business. The items, seemingly intended to intimidate and provoke fear, were mailed following the wave of exploding pagers detonated by Israeli forces in Lebanon last month. CAIR is urging law enforcement authorities, including the FBI, to investigate the incident as a hate crime. In August, CAIR announced that it had documented 413 cases of anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian complaints, incidents, and requests for assistance in Maryland between January and June 2024. During that same time, CAIR also documented 4,951 bias complaints nationwide, a 69% increase over the same period in 2023. Israel shot dead a 59-year-old Palestinian woman while attending to her family's olive grove in the village of Fakwa, east of Jenin in the north of the occupied West Bank. Hanan Abu Salami was shot in the back Thursday morning as she was picking olives with other members of her family when soldiers stationed on the nearby separation wall opened fire, her son told Middle East Eye. Faris Abu Salami, who was with his mother when she was shot, said the local council had negotiated permission from the Israeli army for the family and other villagers to pick olives on their lands, providing they stayed at least 100 meters from the wall. Abu Salami said his family was much further than that from the wall. He said the Israelis suddenly started shooting randomly. When the family started collecting their things to leave and move away, he said his father waved his white flag in the air, hoping they would stop. But they shot his mother in the back as they were fleeing the shooting. The Palestinian Red Crescent confirmed the woman was shot in the back and said medical teams tried to resuscitate her as she was being transferred to hospital. This year's olive harvest season in the West Bank has seen Palestinians subjected to repeated attacks by Israeli settlers and Israeli security forces. Trees have been set on fire and damaged, crops stolen, and farmers prevented from reaching their lands or targeted while harvesting their crops. Earlier this month, more than 50 armed settlers attacked a Palestinian family harvesting olives in the village of Al-Laboon and Al-Gharbi, northwest of Ramallah. A federal judge on Wednesday ordered Alabama officials to pause a controversial voter roll purge until after next month's presidential election. U.S. District Judge Anna Manesco cited a law prohibiting states from removing people from their registered voters list within 90 days of an election. Manesco wrote in her preliminary injunction that GOP Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen violated the National Voter Registration Act, or NVRA, by launching a campaign purposefully targeted non-citizens registered to vote. She said Allen blew the NVRA deadline when he announced a purge program to begin 84 days before the 2024 general election. Manesco added that the Secretary of State later admitted that his purge list included thousands of United States citizens, and in any event, referred to everyone on the purge list to the Alabama Attorney General for criminal investigation. Manesco is an appointee of former President Donald Trump, the current 2024 Republican presidential nominee. Last month, the Justice Department, along with civil and voting rights groups, sued Allen and the state of Alabama over the policy's timing. Individual Alabama voters also filed suit claiming the purge targeted naturalized U.S. citizens. Allen's program removed more than 3,000 people from Alabama's voter rolls and referred them for criminal prosecution. However, more than 2,000 targeted individuals have since been deemed eligible to vote. Manesco's ruling gave Alabama officials 3 days to restore the active status of all wrongfully purged voters. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, who recently turned 100, has cast his ballot for the 2024 presidential election by mail from his home in Georgia. The Carter Center confirmed his vote was submitted on Wednesday, the second day of early voting in the southeastern state of Georgia. Carter reportedly expressed his intention to vote for Vice President Kamala Harris, telling family members he aimed to live long enough to cast this vote. Democratic presidential candidate Harris acknowledged his support on X, saying, "President Carter, thank you for your support." Under Georgia election laws, Carter's absentee ballot will be counted, even if he passes away before the November 5th election day. Trump apologizes to Yemeni Imam in Michigan. Details come after the break. Stay tuned and we will be right back. Welcome back. The New York Times reports that former President Donald Trump apologized to an imam in Michigan to win him over. After Trump wrapped up a recent speech at the Detroit Economic Club, 2 local imams were waiting for him backstage. Bilal al-Zuhairi, a Yemeni American imam at the United Community Center in Hamtramck, Michigan, questioned Trump about his description of Yemeni immigrants as known terrorists at a rally this month. In the 15-minute meeting, al-Zuhairi said Trump gave the religious leader an apology. He said, "I made a mistake and I apologize for it," said al-Zuhairi, who remains undecided about how he will vote on November 5th. Masad Balos, Tiffany Trump's father-in-law, has been working behind the scenes to persuade a critical group of voters in Michigan. Bolus is a Lebanese American and working to persuade Arabs and Muslims in Michigan to either vote for Trump or at least not vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Estimates of registered Arab American voters in Michigan are unreliable. The number of the state's registered Muslim voters, 200,000, exceeds President Joe Biden's margin of victory in 2020 and Trump's in 2016, the New York Times reports. A Times Siena poll last month found Harris and Trump in a dead heat among likely voters in Michigan. A local court in Bangladesh has issued an arrest warrant for former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Hasina fled to India on August 5th on charges of crimes against humanity. The crimes were also allegedly committed during mass student protests in July and August this year. The warrant was issued on Thursday by the International Crimes Tribunal, in its first hearing since being reorganized by the transitional government led by Muhammad Yunus. It has filed more than 60 complaints against Hasina, her Awami League party, and several former senior law enforcement officials, accusing them of forced disappearances, murder, and even genocide. The court also issued warrants for 45 others, including Awami League General Secretary Ubaidul Quaidar and other top leaders of Hasina's political party. The tribunal has instructed prosecutors to present Hasina in court by November 18th. Earlier this week, the tribunal signaled it might seek Interpol's help to bring Hasina and other party members back to Bangladesh. During student-led protests, at least 736 people were killed and more than 20,000 injured in clashes with law enforcement officials and Awami League supporters, according to the Ministry of Health. The violence followed a period of escalating discontent, ultimately ending the Awami League's 15-year rule, prompting Hasina to seek refuge in neighboring India. The United States has charged a former Indian intelligence officer who allegedly directed a foiled plot to murder a Sikh separatist in New York City last year. The indictment of Vikash Yadav was ordered to be unsealed on Thursday, court records showed. Yadav was a former officer in India's Research and Analysis Wing Spy Service, the record said. He remains at large. The murder-for-hire plot was first disclosed by federal prosecutors last year when they announced charges against a man, Nikhil Gupta. He was recruited by a then unidentified Indian government employee who orchestrated the assassination of the Sikh separatist leader Gurpatwad Singh Banu, who is a U.S. citizen. FBI Director Christopher Wray said in a statement the FBI will not tolerate acts of violence or other efforts to retaliate against those residing in the U.S. for exercising their constitutionally protected rights. An Indian government committee investigating India's involvement in the foiled murder plot met with the U.S. officials in Washington on Tuesday. The United States has been pushing India to look into the U.S. Justice Department's claim that an Indian intelligence official directed plans to assassinate Banu. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has accused India of making a horrific mistake in violating Canadian sovereignty. This is amid an escalating diplomatic row over the murder of a Sikh separatist in the province of British Columbia last year. It includes allegations of a broader campaign of threats and violence against Indian exiles. Testifying at a public inquiry into foreign interference on Wednesday, Trudeau accused New Delhi of rebuffing efforts to cooperate and causing the increasingly bitter public feud. It has resulted in the mutual expulsion of senior diplomats. Trudeau said, "We are not looking to provoke or create a fight with India." He added that the Indian government made a horrific mistake in thinking that they could interfere as aggressively as they did in the safety and sovereignty of Canada. We need to respond in order to ensure Canadian safety. Rights groups are condemning U.S. footwear and apparel company Skechers as they use the star power of martial arts actor Donnie Yen to open a new store in occupied East Turkestan or Xinjiang. This despite allegations that Uyghur Muslims in China's far west are being used for forced labor. In a video Yen posted to Instagram, crowds inside a glitzy shopping mall in the regional capital of Urumqi clamored to catch a glimpse of the Hong Kong actor. Yen is a Skechers brand ambassador and is known to have pro-China sympathies. Skechers promoted its September 28th Urumqi store opening heavily on Chinese social media. The brand is big in China. Of Skechers' 5,200 retail stores worldwide, China has the most, with more than 940. Joyher Ilham, the forced labor project coordinator at the Worker Rights Consortium, said the big promotional event showed Skechers was completely tone deaf to concerns about the use of Uyghur forced labor in Xinjiang. Skechers isn't yet taking seriously the need to extricate its business from the Uyghur region, even after it was previously linked to forced labor by U.S. Customs and other institutions, Ilham said. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum.